Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another video. This is my March wrap up, and like it seems like 4 is the number I always read when I'm like at uni or like doing work. It's a struggle. Beside the point, I read 4 books again in March, and I thought I'll just quickly go through them. I don't really have that much to say, I don't think, apart from sort of like the final one that I was thinking of doing a separate video for it, because it is one of my most anticipated reads like ever, but I'll just add it in here. Anyway, I started the month off with listening to the BBC Radio 4 dramatisation of Emma by Jane Austen, like written, I guess, or rewritten in a sense, by April D. Angelis. Honestly, I'll probably give this like 2.5 stars, maybe a bit less, I don't know. I want to read Emma. I have a really nice copy of it. It was for my uni's book club. They picked it. I was going to start reading the actual copy that I got one from the library, but I just didn't have the time. I wanted to listen to like a proper like audiobook version of the whole book, but again I didn't have the time, so I thought I'd just quickly listen to this, just so I sort of know the story. And it hasn't like put me off from reading the whole one. It's just I probably won't do so within the next probably year or so. But it's basically about Emma Woodhouse, and she like sets her friends up in a sense with like other people, sort of like matchmaking. But yeah, I just felt like this was just so fast paced, and also sort of like, I don't know, it just didn't really flow that well. It just irritated me a bit, I guess. And I guess I just wasn't like that invested in it. But that isn't really a fair representation of Emma, because it isn't really Emma, it's a dramatization of Emma. So that's just sort of like a placeholder ranking or rating. This is sort of like a placeholder rating until I actually read the proper work by Jane Austen, which will be sometime, possibly, hopefully. Next I listened to another audiobook. Literally all 3 of them are, apart from the final one, is D, A Tale of Two Worlds by Michael Faber. I enjoyed this, I would say. I think for star rating it's probably maybe like a 3.5. It's a strange one, like, yeah, but it's basically following Dicolo, and her parentage is from Somaliland, and she is living in the UK with I believe adopted parents or foster parents. I don't fully know how old she is. I think she's probably like the beginning of like secondary school age, so I wasn't really too sure where to put it on my like age rating. I think on BorrowBox it just says adult, but it seems more YA or like YA plus. But anyway, I'm such a tangential talker. Once again, anyway, the book. These start not being like used in a sense, sort of like they just disappear overnight. The letter D from like road signs and words and things like that. Sort of like a donkey becomes an onky and a dog becomes an og.
There's a bit that's like stuck with me so much. There's a bit when Dicolo used to see this woman like across the road walking her Dalmatian, and I can't remember if she had the proper name for the dog, and Dicolo asked her like, oh, what's wrong with the dog's name or something. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and then she's like, you had a dog, and the woman's like, I don't have an og, I've never had an og. And that's just like stuck with me.
It's kind of funny the way like certain parts are narrated, just like the way the narrator like speaks it and like puts in these different accents and like weird voices for other characters. But back to the story. So basically these D's start going missing, and then also the like, not just from the names of them, but then also the actual physical thing, like the donkeys and the dogs and stuff like that. And obviously her name is Dicolo, so people calling her Icolo and Icky and stuff. And she's like, you're my friend, like, why you call me Icky? Like, my name's not that, it's Dicolo. But basically she finds out that this old professor who was a history teacher, I believe, has died, and she was like a teacher that like liked her and like understood her, like Somaliland is a separate country, and just sort of like was a good teacher basically, and he had this dog called Nelly, I think. Honestly, I say I'm not going to talk long, but I just talk over anyway. So he like sort of tells us to go on a mission in a sense, into this new world, and she meets all these different like characters, like these gamps, and no, the gamp is like the one that owns it, sort of thing, and there's these, I can't remember the names, but there's all these different people she meets, and she goes with the dog, and she sees that these D's are like being taken away, and she's sort of led to like sort of try and reinstate it in a sense. That is the sort of plot, but I guess it does like talk about sort of like other things as well, and yeah, it's enjoyable. I think it's quite fun, and but at the same time I feel like you are sort of left questioning quite a few things as well, and yeah, I don't know if maybe I like just missed some parts when I was listening to it, or like zoned out or something, but I definitely think like some parts of the actual understanding of what was happening, or like why, were missing for me. I guess it's quite good at talking about how sort of like government like says so and so, and you sort of just going on with it, but you don't really like question why, and maybe like to actually start doing that, and yeah, different things like that as well. I think it was a fine book. It was, yeah, solid like 3.5 stars, say. Then I listened to Monumenta by Lara Howarth. This is quite an interesting one. I think personally for star rating, I'll probably give it a 3.5 as well. This is following a woman who owns this nice like big house in like a nice area of Belgrade in Serbia that wasn't like bombed during the many conflicts within the Balkan region. And she gets a letter saying that these three architects want to build a monument on this site for a massacre, and she sort of asks like what massacre, and like other people as well, she's like what massacre are they actually talking about, because there's been so many, and like what certain thing you're trying to encapsulate within this monument. And she talks with her like daughter and her son that are both living overseas. Her son is gay, and that is sort of explored as well, a little bit of their sort of like dynamic, but I kind of wanted a bit more. And also the daughter is living in Germany and has sort of like distanced herself in a sense, but they sort of like both come back, and these three architects come and they all show what they want to do with the garden or the house. One is sort of like makes sort of like a mall. One is sort of like to put all the monuments in the city in just one place, and then the first one is one I've forgotten now. I can't remember what he wants to do. I think it's like build a hole, maybe. Cannot remember for life of me. Honestly, this brain is just not braining at all recently. But and it does like throw up some questions about like the point of monuments, and like what are they there to represent and present, and are they sort of like what the people of the location want to remember? Is it something that they want, and like who gets to decide these things? And some like of the history within Serbia and the Balkans, and also this family's own like dynamic and their relationship with each other's. But yeah, I think it just sort of fell a bit flat for me. I was sort of left wanting a bit more like exploration of what was going on, and also of the characters and their lives. But yeah, I just felt it was a little maybe half-baked in my personal opinion, but it was quite interesting, quite a quick read as well. But I don't know if I would really recommend it. I guess maybe. And finally, one of my favorite books of the year so far, and one I've been wanting to read for ages and ages, is His Brother by Philippe Besson. This is translated from the French by Frank Wynne, and he translated In the Absence of Men by Philippe Besson, which is a book I really liked. I would give it 5 stars. I don't know if I read it last year or possibly the year before, but also Lie With Me by Besson is my favorite book ever. Amazing, incredible, translated by Wally Ringwald, 146 pages, pure perfection. But this is about his brother. I could not find this anywhere. It was so difficult to find a copy, but I was finally able to, and I'm so happy I read it. It's not a 5-star from me. I think personally it's probably a 4.25 or 4.5. However, it is definitely worth a read, and it is a very well written book. Like he just is such an incredible writer. He is so concise and pinpoint, and I don't know if he goes through like so many rounds of editing, or it's just like he's just naturally brilliant. But also, I guess in some ways the translation I do feel was just kept so true to the original. But like he's just able to say so much with quite little, and like this is a very short book. This is 146 pages. This follows the story of Lucas, and his brother Thomas is dying from this strange disease where his like blood like platelet is like going down drastically, and they don't know why, like how it came upon him and like how it's working, and the like doctors and everyone is like trying to like work out what is going on. It like shows sort of like the medical system, and I guess the not necessarily the cruelties but just the clinicalness and the harshness, I guess, in a way. And it's really like well told, this like that side of it, but more so is the exploration of their brotherly love and this like the power and the friendships and relationship you have with your siblings, and a lot of the time also the rivalries and like their adolescence and their childhood, and the comparisons that people made, because he's all the main character Lucas was always thought of as his brother in a sense, because just like they looked a bit similar, and obviously they're brothers. There's a very like small like time gap between them, but Lucas is older, and I guess sort of the family and the friends and all those around them sort of fade a bit, and it is just so much about them, and it interweaves. It's over not that long of a time, like maybe like 6 months or so, two time frames in a sense, going from around like March time up until like August or September. And this details these different dates of learning about the condition, going through these different trials and trying to work out what's going on and how to help him. And then also in August, where the two brothers have gone to their childhood holiday home on the Ile de Ré, I want to say, an island on the southwest of France, basically waiting for him to die. And they think back over their childhood, I guess, and the things that went on, and yeah, it's just like so well told. It did make me feel very uneasy at times, because I do like get very queasy about talking about like blood and medical things and clinicalness, which it does go into quite a bit of like, you know, full force like showing this, but I guess in a sense that just sort of like shows the brutality in some ways. And I did really like sort of like the exploration of their relationship, and sort of how to move on from the death of someone that you've known your whole life basically, and the like I guess trials and tribulations of siblings. Lucas, the main character, is gay, and it explores some of his sort of like sexuality in a way, or like how it like impacted some of the family, but not that much. It is really just about him being his brother and this relationship between them. But yeah, it does remind me a little bit of Simone de Beauvoir's A Very Easy Death, which I read last year. That is a non-fiction book, and how it just explores sort of the clinicalness of losing someone from your family that you love. So thinking back to the past and your relationship with them. But yeah, I would recommend it. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm disappointed in its impact, but maybe I was expecting a little bit more, just because I know he is such an exceptional author and like one of my favorite authors ever. But now that I have read 3 of his books, and I've also read 3 of Matt Cain's books, I can say that Matt Cain is my favorite author, but he is probably second. But yeah, I just would love to read more of his stories. I just think he is just such a great author. Yeah, so please, anyone, translate some more of them. I'd love to learn French just to be able to read his whole bibliography, is it called, I think. But yeah, a great way to end the month, even though like it was very sad and harrowing, but like it was also great to be able to re-experience a new work of his, because he is just so incredible. But yeah, that was March. Hope you enjoyed this little wrap up, and I shall see you soon. Bye.